Hi, and welcome to Brainstorming What to Post, part of my Fall into Sales series. My name is Dana Zifisak, and I am a travel agent educator. I teach other agents what I did to build my business in a step-by-step, using step-by-step processes. I'm so happy you're here. I want to give everyone a second to get on. So I'm going to put this we want to talk about content, okay? Because that is what people connect with, right? So I want to leave this up here to, um, while I make sure this is posted everywhere it needs to be. Let's see, live. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to, no. All right, let me get this shared. All right, sales. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. I wanted to just get this shared out. So give me one moment while there we go. I need copy link. That's what I need. That's what I need. Okay. Let's go over to here. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to, I have to post the video. I won't let me post. Hold on. Discussion. There we go. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you for bearing with me while I, wait for everybody to come in. So let's get started with the idea of our content. What does it need to be in order to work? Okay, because here's the thing, we have the social media at our fingertips. We have content at our fingertips. So what's the difference between, something that just sits around and does nothing and just gets 30 views and something that gets hundreds or thousands of views? It has to do with that ideal client that we talked about on Tuesday, okay? And if you did not see Tuesday's video, go back. You will it's the live video before this, where I talk about your marketing has to be directed to an ideal client, okay? Because you need to be able to get them to feel seen, heard, or inspired. And a good source on this, if you need ideas, inspiration, name is Shannon. The source on this, where I got this quote, Shannon McKinstry. She's on Instagram. She's a great social media person. Um, Now, what happens is, in order to create that good content that people see and it builds trust, you need to fully understand your ideal clients, okay? You have to step in order to brainstorm any of this, you need to start with them, okay? We're not going to start with, "Okay, well, what do I wanna promote?" Well, you can do that, okay? Because there are things like you wanna promote different things, but you have to start with going to at things from their point of view, because here's the thing, our point of view is not the same as their point of view. Even if your ideal client is of the same demographic as you, it's different because we're the experts in this stuff. Okay. We're the experts in, booking flights and making sure the transfers are correct and all that stuff. That is all things that come to us naturally. Okay. But to our ideal clients, those are not things that come to them naturally. And that's what we have to post about. So your content is more about what they need to know versus what we know. Does that make sense? Is that landing correctly? It's more about meeting them where they are and allowing your expertise to answer questions about things that frustrate them. So, where we have to sometimes start, and I know this is a this might seem like a negative point of view, but it's not. I'm not really a negative person. But what happens is our brain thinks in ways that can solve our problems. Okay. It is constantly looking for ways to make life easier for us. That's our brains. That's our natural tendency. Our brain's natural tendency is to help us, to protect us, to you know, so if somebody is your ideal client is scrolling on their phone and they see your post and it addresses something that they've been thinking about, that's when they're gonna stop and read it, okay? Because that's something and, it's hard for us sometimes to come up with, well, what are they dreading about planning a trip? What's keeping them from going on a vacation? These things are we have to kind of think backwards, okay? We have to step out of our little cocoons as travel experts and look at it from the client's point of view. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this, okay? So, first thing I want you to do, okay, is you're going to take a specialty you have and think of your ideal audience. And if you're watching this on the replay or if you're watching it now, tell me in the comment who your ideal audience is. Okay, post a comment with who that most ideal person is. And just one, I just want one because you can have your post can have multiple, like one post can be for this type of client, one post can be for this type of client, but each post has to be narrowed in. The reason being is if something is too general, it is not going to work because our brains, again, aren't paying attention to the general stuff. When something is specific, it pops out. All right. So tell me in the comments who is your ideal audience? And I kind of just put a couple different specialties in here just so that you can see there's a lot of different options. Okay. If you're thinking more all inclusive resorts, you could go so many different directions. You can, are you looking at couples? Well, are you looking at empty nesters? Are you looking at retirees? Are you destination weddings, honeymoons, anniversaries? There's so many subgroups. And I want you to think of that when you're brainstorming for your post. Which subgroup am I going to be speaking to? Okay. Because that will make your message so much succinct, okay? And just because you're writing it for one group doesn't mean other people won't appreciate it. They will. Okay, that's the magic of this. The more specific it is, even if it's not written direct, because you're not saying, "Hey, preschool parents." No, you're not doing that, okay? But if you are writing directly in how someone is worried or thinking, they're gonna sit there and they're gonna read it, and they might even share it, they might comment, all right? And that's the first part of, our business. Our business has different layers. We have getting clients, okay? That's where our marketing comes in. We have to build trust, build connection. Social media is a great place. Email marketing is another great place. That's listen, email marketing to me is how I built my business. I've been on social media all 12 years of my business, but and I think social media is great for that connection, keeping things going. Email is a next level up, okay? But we're talking right now about social media, but the same um, philosophy applies, okay, to email. You have to think of your ideal audience first, okay? So you pick them. Then I want you to brainstorm issues, problems, questions based on what clients ask you. Or use ChatGPT for some insights. Okay, so first, as you are going about your day answering questions from clients, these could all be awesome posts. Let me show you an example. Okay. Oh, this is the example I want to go with this one. Okay. So the other day I was working and one of my booked clients had a question about the fireworks dessert party. Basically, if they cater to special dietary restrictions. But yes, I know about that because I have celiac, and we have done it. So I thought to myself, well, if that client has a question, this might be something that is relevant to other people too. So whoever said spend money on a dessert party so you don't have to stand around for over an hour in a crowd of people was so right. Now, I showed you this the other day, but I wanted to let you know that the reason why I posted this was because somebody asked about it, and I thought, "Oh, that's a good idea." Now, I am not one of those people. I am not an agent who plans out her posts for the week or even for the month. I just don't. I have tried that method, and it doesn't work for me, okay? I post based on whatever hits me that day, okay? But I base it off of what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. So then yesterday, I posted about these adorable Elf on the Shelf Turks and Caicos rooms, and I'm like, first of all, I'm looking at this in my email, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it's like Christmas threw up in these rooms." I love it. Like, this is right up my alley, and I knew I had to post about it, but so even though, okay, this showed up in my inbox, awesome, and it just is so out of I know my ideal client would love it, and it did. Somebody messaged me about them, and they wound up not booking because it was like $28,000 for 4 days between Christmas and New Year, so, that was a no-go, but it still generated interest, and that's the point, and actually, we're talking about a different kind of trip now. So, it's not you have to think of what would catch their eye. All right. And supplier emails are good for this, but you have to put it in the lens with your ideal client. So, what I did here with this, now, first of all, a couple little tricks. Um, I downloaded the pictures from that they linked to in the email. So that Sandals linked to in the email. Then I, adjusted the sizing so that way it will, because basically you don't wanna be everybody posting the same exact picture because then the algorithm will get tripped up. But then I added in pictures of a picture of me at Turks and then other parts of that was outside the Italian village, which it looks like that's where these rooms are. And then, I have other Christmas pictures from Turks and Caicos that I've taken. So, I put all that in the post too to help with the algorithm, because that's the thing with when you're using supplier photos, you have to be really careful because, and because of the algorithm, you wanna make sure that you're adding variety to it, not just using the stock photos. But I didn't have any other options for these photos, and I wanted to take the chance because they are just so darn cute, and it worked. It got lots and lots of views, and, it got comments, it got a lead. Awesome. So what I did though is my first sentence, my hook, okay, was directed to that ideal client. Because guess what? That Elf now granted, I have aged out of Elf on the Shelf, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. However, a lot of my ideal clients, they still hide that elf, they do the antics around the house, which mine never did anything naughty. That was before that is more recent. Um, but, you know, this is your sign to pack up that elf on the shelf and go to Turks and Caicos instead of having them do antics around your house. Okay? So I took what is going on in my clients' everyday life, and they're like, "Oh, that elf is coming back." But and it worked. It was really good, and I kinda just took some stuff from the press release and made it my own, okay? We're not copying and pasting because, again, the algorithm doesn't like that. You have to put your own words in it. Um, so now the third way I talked about the first way was create content based off of questions that clients ask you in the planning of their vacation, okay? It doesn't have to be, um, science, okay? It does not have to be super complicated. Like I said, I was telling the client about the fireworks party. I thought, "Hey, I should post about this. This is a good post." And then yesterday I was talking to somebody else about Universal Christmas. That's gonna be on my post. That's gonna be what I work on today because it's something that people were curious about, that someone was curious about. So if someone is asking the question, if one of my clients is asking the question, it's a relevant topic. Now, you might not have that going on. You might not have many questions coming in or. Oh, and then the second one is, so you take promotional emails from suppliers and think of how you can make it work for your ideal client, okay? That was the elf on the shelf thing. Now, the last way is that you can use ChatGPT to help brainstorm social media posts. Now, I am not a big proponent of having it write it because I just you can tell when something is written by AI. Like, I don't know. I'm just not I used to teach it and now I don't. I just find but it gives you so I'm gonna show you an example here. I'm gonna get into ChatGPT, then I'm gonna put it on the screen. So I do use ChatGPT. Um, all right, let me put it I have to put this down. So basically what you do is you pick your destination and topic and your audience, and then you go to the ChatGPT website, okay? There we go. Hold on, let me get the slides to go down. So that way you don't have 2 things going on. All right. So what you do is you ask it now, as you can see on my side here, I also I am in a decluttering phase of my life, and I've been putting things on eBay, like things that we don't use or things like, um, just stuff, like so much stuff. Um, and I use ChatGPT to write the eBay listings or to optimize them because I have some that have been sitting, like I have a my son never wore it, it was like a Packers jersey, and he just didn't like it, it just wasn't he didn't like it. And so it even still had the tags and everything, but it wasn't getting any views, so I put it into ChatGPT to optimize it for keyword searches and stuff like that. But anyway, that's just my little hobby. Um, but what you would ask it is, "Please tell me what kind of frustrations preschool parents have with traveling with their children." Or what kind of questions or what kind of I'm gonna go with frustrations. I know it seems weird, and I'm sorry if I'm looking at my other screen, which is where the ChatGPT is. Um, preschool parents often feel excited yet overwhelmed. Oh, what are so this gives you some ideas of let me make this bigger because it's hard to see. View, zoom in. There we go. Oh, no, 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 zoom in. There we go. Okay. Um, So I asked it, and it kind of gives me, the AI, blah, blah, blah. But overpacking versus forgetting something important. So these are frustrations that people have. So I'm going to now ask it, okay, what are 10 social media post ideas, okay, for reels about, or actually, let's do five. That might take too long. Yeah, we'll do five that speak to these frustrations that I can use as a travel agent. Okay. So the airport reality versus the dream traveling with it's not always magic. So show quick cuts of snacks. Okay, that's what parents really need in a resort. This is a good one. Parents of preschoolers don't need fancy, they need practical. And splash pad near the room, buffets, they have mac and cheese. And what I would do is then take these and then look for try to ask it for trending hooks, okay? So this is taking the frustrations of a pre I just picked random, okay? And so if you're stuck, this is a great way to get unstuck, okay? Like, so you don't have anything coming around, just ask it, what frustrations or what questions do your ideal audience, whoever it may be, have about going to and then whatever you wanna send them to, okay? I can make this even more specific. I could say, "Can you make this even more specific about can you make these ideas even more, and make these ideas specific for" and then it will go through and make it be more specific. The more specific you are in your posts and what you're putting out there, the better it will be. But ChatGPT is really good at this, like coming up with ideas. allowing you to step into your client's point of view. 'Cause that's the problem. We are not the clients. We are the experts. And when you're coming at it from an expert's point of view, sometimes you're talking at this level and they need this level. Okay. So this ChatGPT helps with this. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. Next week, I will be back. I believe I have not figured out my schedule yet for next week. I definitely won't be here Tuesday. Or yeah, so probably the wrong side. So it'll probably be Monday, Wednesday next week for our lives. Yes, because I have juggling around appointments. I'm just trying to think of what days we don't have appointments. So. All right, guys. Well, you have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here next week. So I hope this helps and share your content that you make. I would love for you to comment, like if you make something off of one of these ideas, I'd love to see it. Either reply to my emails or put it in the comments here. I would love to take a look. Bye bye.